I'll be your MC for today's luncheon program. Just a little housekeeping before we get on with our festivities for today. We've got a lot in store for all of you, so settle in for what I promise you will be a really fantastic afternoon. Today's program, we're hoping will end promptly at 1:45 p.m. I'd also like to invite all of you to download the virtual program book, which you can locate in the handout section of the screen. So if you look over to the right of your screen, you'll see handouts. You can open that section, and right in there is your very own luncheon program book so that you can follow along with the program this afternoon. Also want to let everyone know that we will be recording this, and we'll send the luncheon program out to you after, later on this week, after we've had some time to settle down. All participants will be muted during the program. However, we do encourage you to use the questions section of your control panel throughout. Maybe go in and talk about what the fund means to you, maybe make some comments about the speaker, or tell us what you're having for lunch today, anything that you want to share. And with regard to the keynote speaker, when we get to that section of the program, we'll give you a little bit more information on how you can submit questions for Dr. Bell to answer. So a little more on that further on. Also, we'd like to ask you to share on social media. When you do share, please mention at CC Women and Girls. And also during this program, use the hashtag #LunctionGoesVirtual. So for example, you might want to share your purple and white attire that you're wearing today, hopefully, or say something in honor of the centennial, which we're going to be celebrating this year during our luncheon. This is the 100-year anniversary of women's right to vote. And so we'll be having some fun around the centennial as part of our program today. I'm excited to announce something that's really just came up recently that we're so excited about here at the fund. We have been given a $10,000 matching challenge by a very loyal follower and friend of the fund. And so we're asking you today to help us get to our goal of matching that fund. So please double your support, give generously throughout the luncheon. You'll be able to, there's a link located on your panel there that you can see where you can contribute during the lunch, so you don't have to wait until the end. So throughout, we're going to announce where we are with this challenge. And actually, I'm pleased to announce that even before we came on air, we were able to get up to $2,750 through an announcement that we posted this week about the match program. So please give generously. We truly need your support and welcome your support. And hopefully you'll be inspired throughout our luncheon and understand how grateful we are to all of you. So I hope that you're settled in with your lunch, because now we're ready to kick off the day. And we're going to start out with an inspired performance by Mary Kate Morrissey. Mary Kate is the daughter of one of our board members, Mary Beth Morrissey. And right now, I turn it over to you, Mary Kate, for this great performance.
Hi, welcome to the Chester County Fund for Women and Girls Luncheon. My name is Mary Kate Morrissey. I am the daughter of board member Mary Beth Morrissey, who, in her words, has been on the board of the fund for, I don't know, a while. When she asked me to help out with the virtual luncheon, I jumped at the opportunity because I have been so inspired by the work that the fund has done and the impact it has made in our community, from providing much needed resources to smaller charities that are on the front lines and helping families during the pandemic, to giving me a reason to clean out my mom's closet during my Broadway touring sabbatical. She has 15 bags ready for you, Wings for Success. I would be in LA right now with Mean Girls the musical, but right now I'm just singing in my garage in Downingtown, and for you here today. I did get to play Philly earlier this year, and that was a dream come true. And before that, I was on tour with the Broadway company of Wicked playing Elphaba. I love how both of these roles encourage women to defy expectations, rise to the challenges in front of them, and to empower the other women around them. I see this not only in the roles that I've been playing, but also in the role models in my life. My mom and my Aunt Sue, who's on the grant allocation committee, go Aunt Sue, and my Aunt Mary Frances. I'm going to start off the luncheon today with a little bit of a punch. I'm going to sing I'd Rather Be Me from Mean Girls. So your best friends screwed you over, acted nice when she not nice. Well, I have some advice, cause it's happened to me twice. Here's my secret strategy, it always works because the
Thank you, Mary Kate. That was awesome. Wasn't that inspirational, everyone? A great way to kick off our lunch. And please stay tuned because you will have the opportunity to hear from Mary Kate and another performance a little bit later in our program. At this time, I'd like to introduce an interactive activity for all of us. Thinking about the fund and what the fund means to you, it means different things to each and every one of us. And then to some of us, it means the same thing. But I'd like to encourage you to participate in this activity. We're going to be putting together a word cloud that we're going to share with you at the end of today's luncheon. So at this time, I'd like to ask you to go over to the question box and in one word, describe what the Chester County Fund means to you. As mentioned, we'll share that with you later in the program. Thank you. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Judy Bell, the chair of our board, for some comments and words. Judy, come on over.
Welcome. Thank you, Patty. I am so happy to be here with you today. And yes, we are practicing social distancing here in the fund office in beautiful Westchester, Pennsylvania. I'm envisioning all of your beautiful faces, hopefully taking a break from your day to join us for this luncheon and spending what we hope is going to be inspiring and energetic burst to your day. We also have some out-of-state attendees, and all the way from California, Florida, Iowa, Indiana, Wisconsin, and Colorado. So welcome out-of-staters as you learn and share about our commitment to Chester County women and girls throughout the country, as well as to our local faithful friends and partners. You know, as this year's board chair, I've been actively involved in the fund for just over 9 years, having a passion to providing women of all ages in our communities the chance to achieve economic security, obtain educations or skills training to live a healthy and safe life in our community. This year marks a big year for us. We were, even though founded in 1996, 24 years ago, this year is our 15th anniversary of this annual Making a Difference Luncheon. It's also the 15th anniversary of our Girls Advisory Board. And of course, as Patty said, we are going to be celebrating today the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which granted most women the right to vote. When we started out the year this year, I was so looking forward to the numerous events and gatherings to celebrate the 19th Amendment. To personalize this, it's very troublesome for me. My grandmother could not vote in her early adult years. Married with her first child, which was my dad, she couldn't vote. It just, this is a woman that I knew and knew of and knew her so well. And many of you have your own stories. So today, in addition to our Keynote and Kitchen Table Award, we're going to take some time to reflect and celebrate those who fought that long fight. While each year we graciously thank our luncheon sponsors, this year is so different. It's hard to express in words our gratitude to our sponsors and supporters sticking with us for this first virtual event. We envision that the action today and our steadfast luncheon theme of truly making a difference will demonstrate that gratitude. So I'd just like to take a moment and thank our sponsors. Barbara Jordan, not only co-founder of the fund, but a continuing fund leader. The Chase Law Group, Catalyst for Change. And also our innovators, the Desmond Hotel, of which we usually have our luncheon there for the last 15 years. We will be back there next year for our 16th, and hopefully all of you will be with us. I'd also like to thank McElry Harvey, Mill Creek, Peretta and Orr, People 2.0, Tollsdorf, and Wisfis Bank, Tim and Judy Bell, Nancy and Michael McClellan, Kate and Tom Sennett, Mary Lou Sturge, and of course, Denise Wine. I'd also like all of you, as we're showing our supporters on the screen, many of you, thank you again. I really, if you can, especially in these times, to take a look at and read the virtual program that we posted so that you can know these organizations and individuals in our community that continue their sponsorship during this pandemic. For me and all of us here at the board or at the fund, it's just quite remarkable and extraordinary. So please support these businesses as you can. So now I want to introduce our Executive Director, Michelle Legaspi-Sanchez. When you look at the positives that can come out through difficult times, it is how people can rise to the occasion. Michelle and the fund staff are certainly an example of that. They've been working remotely ever since the work from home, continuing the work of the fund, staying focused on who we are, our mission, and who we serve. They pivoted perfectly with the luncheon committee to make today happen. So let's hear from Michelle on a fund update, and she's going to introduce our keynote speaker. Michelle?
Thank you, Judy. Good afternoon. Greetings from my office in Westchester, Pennsylvania. My name is Michelle Legaspi-Sanchez, and I'm the Executive Director of the Chester County Fund for Women and Girls. I hope this unprecedented time has found you and your loved ones in good health and in good spirits. I know these last few months marked by COVID-19 and more recently, much heartbreak and unrest in our communities has been difficult. It's been emotional, it's been unique, it's been strange. And I say strange because that's how the sense of time and how context has felt to me. Like many of you, we've spent the last few months tucked away in our home, and it's been easy to feel hidden or disconnected and siloed. And yet I've noticed that this time has also offered the opportunity to slow down and take stock and see the larger influences at work. When we pull back the curtain, there's really much that is laid bare. And I'd like to highlight just two areas in that today. First, COVID-19 and what has erupted in these recent days all across our country has brought to the fore the issues that brought our organization into existence. These were the needs that were articulated around that kitchen table over 20 years ago. Access to healthcare, gender-based violence, childcare, and the needs for support in its many forms for women, just so that they have the chance to make a living and sustain their families. The tenuous, exhausting juggling act of the working mom, and of course, racial and gender justice. Our latest blueprint report reveals that women of color, particularly Black women in Chester County, have faced significant health, economic, and educational disparities long before 2020. These community needs have been spotlighted over the last few months, and yet they've been hiding in plain sight all along. Second, the current times have been a chance to see the Fund for Women and Girls step up. As these issues have been on our radar since our existence, 2020 was simply a spark that kicked us into an even higher gear. Many of you are already aware of our unique community-driven grant-making process and our award-winning girls programs, such as our Girls Advisory Board. For those of you just getting to know us, I encourage you to take a look at our website and today's materials to learn more. But in addition to the nearly $200,000 given in grants to local nonprofits this year, we committed over $20,000 in impact grants towards response efforts to COVID-19 that are focused on women and girls. We also maintained our girls programs, the Girls Advisory Board, Girl Gov Chester County, as well as the second annual Girls in Action Summit. We maintained them and pivoted to virtual programming. The connection to these young women was more important than ever to offer consistency and stability, but also to offer an outlet and the tools to guide their energy to take action now. And you can check out the program book, which highlights just a few examples of how members, as well as our alum of our programs, have been stepping up in this time of crisis. And through our advocacy and our role as a convener, we have continued to work to ensure that the needs of women and girls are represented at decision-making tables. Because we know that crises and their effects are often not gender neutral, and thus our response can't be either. It's certainly not easy, and it's certainly not over. And as we experienced this week, these societal pains are so deep and so layered. Just like the suffragists and all who have come before and after them to use who they are and what they have to push forward, we will continue on. We will continue to carry that mantle for gender and racial equity, because there is no gender justice without racial justice. We will fund organizations that are addressing inequities and mobilizing to advance community-based solutions. We will continue to raise up the next generation of leaders and educate them to lead with an understanding of equity and privilege and our country's history of systematic inequalities. We will amplify the voices of all women and other disenfranchised groups by using our blueprint report to disaggregate data in order to uncover their unique experiences and by helping to mobilize them to vote. This was our commitment prior, but the current events make it clearer than ever that the Chester County Fund for Women and Girls can and must do better. We invite you and we challenge you to walk alongside of us in this journey, to use who you are and what you have to create a more equitable world for all. Thank you. I'd now like to do the next drawing, and this is for the Mexican Fiesta Basket, which is thanks to our development and luncheon committees. And the basket includes some fun spirits, a piñata, a basket, as well as a table setting for a very festive party. And the winner of that is Laura Aluzio. So congratulations, Laura. We will be in touch with you about picking up your prize. And we are now ready to welcome Dr. Janet Dewart Bell. To name just a few of her titles, Dr. Bell is an author, an activist, a communication strategist, and an executive coach. Most recently, she authored Lighting the Fires of Freedom, African American Women in the Civil Rights Movement. And among her accomplishments are an Emmy for Outstanding Individual Achievement, as well as a Peabody Award, which is considered the highest award in broadcasting. Dr. Bell also established the Derek Bell Lecture Series on Race in American Society at the NYU School of Law in honor of her late husband, Derek Bell, a distinguished legal scholar, and I believe that series is in its 24th or 25th year. I had the pleasure of hearing Dr. Bell speak at the Apollo in New York City on Martin Luther King Day just a few years ago, and I was struck. I was struck by how strong and yet graceful her voice was and is, and how much it's filled with truth and light. And so I knew we had to bring her to Chester County. And though I'm disappointed that she's not joining us in person, I'm glad that she was still able to join us virtually. And I look forward to hosting her here in Chester County in the future. Before we hear from Dr. Bell, I want to remind you that she will be joining us for a live Q&A after her remarks. So you have the chance to submit questions from the question panel on the control panel side. Please phrase your questions as directly and briefly as possible. So with no further ado, I give you Dr. Janet Dewart Bell.
Good afternoon. I am honored to be with you today at this gathering of women and girls who make a difference, not only in your lives, but in the lives of your community, and who since your founding in 1996 provide a model for others to follow, to help transcend the barriers of race and class. Thank you, Chester County Fund for Women and Girls, for all you do, especially Executive Director Michelle Legaspi Sanchez and Board Chair Judy Bell. Let me add my congratulations to this year's winner of the prestigious Kitchen Table Award, Patricia Yoder. I am also honored to be even virtually on the ground where Frederick Douglass, a Black male feminist, walked, and Harriet Tubman, the woman they called Moses, led hundreds of slaves to freedom on the Underground Railroad with the support of white abolitionists. Thinking about the connections between the suffrage and civil rights movements and social justice and human rights movements today brought me to the theme of today's talk: vision, voice, valor, and victory. I'd like for you to remember at least 3 things. Don't worry, I'll remind you. 1, we can build on the mighty history of women's courage and accomplishments. Women have the right stuff. Let hope and commitment be our wings. 2, women of all races must work together for women's rights and racial justice, equality for all. 3, democracy is not a spectator sport. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay committed to a world that we know is possible. Continue to make a difference. The women pictured on today's luncheon materials are a constellation of courage, of valor. To mention a few, the youngest, Malala Yousafzai, was only 17 when she became the youngest Nobel Peace Prize recipient for her impassioned advocacy of education for girls in her native Pakistan. There's a photo of her online holding the diary of Anne Frank, the young Jewish girl whose life reminds us about the indomitable human spirit. She died in a concentration camp just before liberation. The very first play I ever saw was The Diary of Anne Frank, and it helped shape my life's commitment to justice for all people. Malala was just a child when the Taliban shot her in the face for the crime of wanting to become educated. She survived, and she is a human rights leader. Among the people I pray for every day is Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the notorious and righteous RBG. Ida B. Wells Barnett boldly went where few had gone before. A pioneering journalist, she put herself in harm's way to personally investigate lynchings. Lest we forget, there was a time when lynchings of Black people, men, women, and children were not considered crimes. I love what history and facts teach us. Having grown up in Erie, Pennsylvania, with the good fortune of attending excellent public schools, I studied about the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. I memorized Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. Recently, I became acquainted with the story of Mrs. Powell. According to the Friends of Franklin website, at the close of America's Constitutional Convention in 1787, Benjamin Franklin was reportedly asked by George Washington's friend, Mrs. Elizabeth Powell of Philadelphia, "Well, doctor, what have we got? A republic or a monarchy?" Franklin responded, "A republic, madam, if we can keep it." Our still relatively young republic is far from a perfect union, but the suffrage and civil and human rights movements have helped close the gap between ideals and reality to, as the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said, bend the arc of the universe toward justice. It is amazing to me that such a simple notion, equality for women, could be considered controversial or threatening. Susan B. Anthony said, "Failure is impossible." She and Elizabeth Cady Stanton formed the National American Women's Suffrage Association. Their publication, The Revolution, had the motto, "Men their rights and nothing more, women their rights and nothing less." The information about Anthony is from Wesleyan University. I adapted the following from one of Divided Sisters, Bridging the Gap Between Black and White Women by Midge Wilson and Kathy Russell on pbs.org about the Seneca Falls Convention, which was in July of 1848 and brought together 200 women and 40 men, including feminists Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott, to make the claim for full citizenship. It was at Seneca Falls that the suffrage movement began. As the movement progressed, white and Black women fought among and between themselves over the best course of action. Sojourner Truth, who had already experienced her own personal struggle toward freedom from slavery, remained unwavering in her support of women's rights. During the last quarter of the 19th century, white and Black women encouraged separate Black and white unions, but at least one white woman, Amelia Bloomer, was having none of that. She campaigned against racism within the women's movement, and some Black people did rise to positions of prominence. When Ida B. Wells Barnett, the journalist who had led the anti-lynching campaign in the late 19th century, and who, by the way, was just awarded a posthumous Pulitzer Prize, brought members with her to the 1913 suffrage parade in Washington, D.C. The march organizers asked that Black women walk at the end of the parade. Wells Barnett refused to march, but as the parade progressed, she joined and marched between two white supporters. Yes, there are some ceilings you need to break, some fences you need to climb, some systems you need to change. When I was growing up in Erie in the 50s and 60s, we were taught little about women's history and almost nothing about Black history. We were acquainted with names of a few great women like Anthony and Stanton, but the information was filtered through a white male lens. I had forgotten, or maybe did not know, that Susan B. Anthony had been arrested and tried in criminal court for voting illegally. She used that platform to give a public lecture on women's rights. When the judge tried to silence her, she persisted. Although she lost the case, she gained in her voice, and she planted a seed that later grew into the 19th Amendment. Sojourner Truth was reported to have said, "Ain't I a woman?" I say reported because that great visionary, a former slave, had been denied the opportunity to learn to read and write. But she had a phenomenal memory and gave speeches without notes or other tools that most of us cannot function without. Others wrote her story, and there are some suspicions that someone slipped in "ain't" to be more colloquial or dramatic. Through her almost century of life, which spanned from pre-Civil War 1797 to 1883, what we do know is that she spoke at the Women's Rights Convention in Akron, Ohio in 1851, and what she said was powerful. She had agency and voice. She had the audacity to stand up and speak truth, pun intended, to power. The NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, grew out of a response by white liberals, including Mary White Ovington, to anti-Black violence in Springfield, Illinois, the birthplace of Abraham Lincoln. Founded in 1909, the NAACP is the nation's foremost, largest, and most widely respected civil rights organization. At that meeting, they issued a call to discuss racial justice. Some 60 people, 7 of whom were African Americans, including W.E.B. Du Bois and Ida B. Wells Barnett, signed the call, which was released on the centennial of Lincoln's birth. The NAACP founders were transitional figures. Another transitional figure was Eleanor Roosevelt. A key moment was when she championed Marian Anderson to sing at the White House in 1935, then on Easter Sunday in 1939 at the Lincoln Memorial. The Daughters of the American Revolution had refused to allow Miss Anderson to sing at Constitution Hall because of her race. Now, Blacks and whites had intergenerational involvement also in the Civil Rights Movement. An intergenerational example is the Little Rock Nine, 9 teenagers who bravely integrated Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas, under the guidance of the NAACP president, Daisy Bates. Let me add how brave they and their families were. One of the 9 was 15-year-old Elizabeth Eckford, who walked alone and without police and National Guard protection. She was viciously taunted and spat upon by adults and children who fought integration. She represents thousands of others, most of whom are nameless, who endured attack dogs and fire hoses to demand the opportunity for equal education. Most people know of the name of Rosa Parks, who refused to move to the back of a segregated bus and whose arrest sparked the Montgomery bus boycott. Mrs. Parks sat down to stand up. Mississippi sharecropper and leader Fannie Lou Hamer had no money, but what she had was passion and a powerful voice. That women were not permitted to speak from the main stage at the March on Washington demonstrates why Black women need to be advocates of women's rights as well as civil rights. The civil and human rights pioneers paved the way for other African American women, such as Shirley Chisholm, the first Black woman elected to Congress, and in 1972, the first to run for president of a major party. And of course, C. Dolores Tucker, who was Pennsylvania's Secretary of State in the 1970s. Today, we celebrate leaders here and abroad. Women have led the fight for the equal rights movement. Thank you, Pennsylvania, for becoming the 38th state to ratify. Young leaders are giving us hope and wisdom beyond their years. 11-year-old Naomi Wadler spoke at the 2018 March for Our Lives for all the African American girls left out of the gun violence discussion. Teenager Greta Thunberg took on climate change and the world politicians who persist in ignoring it. There are the women, young and old, of the Me Too movement. And then there are the women of the Chester County Fund for Women and Girls. Another transitional figure is Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, probably the most powerful woman in American history until we finally get a woman president. I promised that I would remind you of 3 major takeaways from my talk today. 1, we can build on the mighty history of women's courage and accomplishments. Women have the right stuff. Let hope and commitment be our wings. 2, women of all races must work together for women's rights and racial justice, equality for all. 3, democracy is not a spectator sport. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay committed to a world that we know is possible. Continue to make a difference. So, in the spirit of Susan B. Anthony, Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Elizabeth Eckford, Shirley Chisholm, Malala Yousafzai, and Greta Thunberg, amplify your blueprint into a national call for action for an overground railroad, a contemporary walk toward freedom. None of us is free until we all are free. Hold on to your vision. Raise your voice. Be steadfast in valor and march on to victory. Working together, failure is impossible. Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Bell.
Hi, how are you?
We're doing well. Thank you.
Great program. I'm really enjoying listening to the wonderful words, seeing the great people, and hearing the wonderful singing. My goodness. This is terrific.
Thanks, Dr. Bell. So here's your first question. It's been a tough week for our country. And during a time of crisis like this, what gives you hope?
What gives me hope is the people who have responded in a positive manner. I think protests are positive. And I think that the fact that you have people of all races and all ages participating that gives me hope. Can you hear me?
We can. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Bell. I can definitely hear you.
Yeah, so no, I am hopeful because of the peaceful response. There are always people who want to be instigators and do things that detract from the overall positive nature of it. But I think people are are very, they want to do the right thing. I've always said to me, the values of American society, we really believe in fair play. We don't always have the answers how to get there, but I think that people have opened their eyes, and they are making personal commitments to move forward, and that gives me hope. I'm always hopeful anyway, because I really believe, as Brian Stevenson says, hopelessness is the enemy of social justice. I've been hopeful all my life. That's why I keep moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you. And hopefully we can hopefully all keep those same sentiments within each and every one of us too. So thank you for that. Yes. All right. So considering the current social political climate, what can the fund and its supporters do starting today to bring about the much needed gender and racial progress we seek?
Well, you have such a great foundation, and I'm not intimately aware with everything that you do, but I know you believe in intergenerational work and have supported girls as well as, I mean, I love the kitchen table award winner background and everything. I think that what you can do today, if you may have done it already, is to really encourage people to be civically active. And for those who are 18 years of age and older, to vote, because voting to me is foundational in terms of a democracy. And we need to vote because, and voting, people who tell me they don't vote, they drive me a little crazy, because what I say is people died for our right to vote. We have to honor their sacrifice, and we have to build on a country that has so many promises for us all.
Thank you. So here's another question for you. Which women or which woman do you personally admire today, woman or women, and why?
I have such a long list, but I'll just give you a couple of them. One is Gloria Steinem. She's been a friend of mine for about 40 years. She was my first editor when I submitted an article to Ms. Magazine. And Gloria Steinem is always on the right side of justice. She and I don't agree on everything, but she has really worked toward what we're talking about today, both women and racial equality. So I think that she is just phenomenal, and I admire her very, very much. I also admire Barbara Lee, Congresswoman Barbara Lee from California, who has worked for peace and justice all her life, and who is not afraid to speak up and to be a majority of one when it is necessary. So those are a couple of the people that I admire greatly, and of course, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. How can you not?
Of course, who can't admire her? And of course, Gloria Steinem as well. Well, thank you, Dr. Bell. We've really appreciated this opportunity to have this Q&A. We wish there were time for more questions, as well as wishing you were here with us. Is there just some final one word that you'd like to leave with our audience before we move on to the next segment?
Simply, I'd like to repeat at the end of what my prepared remarks were, and I know you get it, because I can see from the energy and the programs that you have, but working together, really, failure is impossible.
Thank you, Dr. Bell. Everyone really appreciates all your words and comments. Thank you so much. Okay, so now that we're in the mood of talking a little bit about the centennial, we have a special video that we'd like to share with all of you now. Thank you to the female elected officials of Chester County for helping us put together this video. So we'd like to share that with you now.
The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on the account of sex. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation.
Hi, I'm State Representative Carolyn Committa, and I vote because as a U.S. citizen, I know this is a cherished right and responsibility, and I want to make sure that the people who are elected to serve at local, state, and federal levels share my values and are working to shape a healthy future for our children. As the League of Women Voters say, your vote is your voice. Speak up and vote.
My name is Marian Moskowitz, and I am chair of the Chester County Board of Commissioners. I vote because I want a say in who runs our federal, state, and local governments. Every vote counts.
Hi, I'm Chester County Commissioner Michelle Kickline. I vote because my parents came to this country from a country where they couldn't vote, nor could their parents. So I always want to make sure that my voice is heard.
I'm State Representative Christina Sappy, and I vote because it was ingrained in me as a child that voting is our duty as citizens in a representative democracy.
Hi, my name is Freda Maddox, and I am the Sheriff of Chester County. I vote because I understand that women didn't always have that privilege. My grandparents grew up in the Jim Crow South, and they didn't have the privilege to vote either. I vote because I understand that I would not have been elected sheriff of this county and be the first African American to serve in that position if people had not voted. Please vote.
It's Chrissy Houlihan, representative from Pennsylvania's 6th Congressional District, and I vote because I believe that my future and my happiness depends on it. I believe it's my responsibility and my privilege. I believe I owe it to the heroes who have gone before me. Your vote is your voice.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that video. Just have an update now, I understand, on our matching gift. Oh, wow. Thanks, everyone. We are up to $7,150. Keep it coming. We are so close to getting to our $10,000 match. We truly appreciate your generosity and hope that this inspiring program is inspiring you to double up your gift and help us continue to do the very important work that we do to advance women and inequality and promote equality everywhere. At this time, I would like to bring back on our board chair, Judy, to introduce our Kitchen Table Award winner. Judy?
Thank you, Patty. Well, I hope you guys are inspired by the program that our terrific committee has put together. The Kitchen Table Award was established in 2012 to honor an outstanding Chester County woman who has demonstrated leadership and made substantive contribution through service and or philanthropy in our community. Again, this started in 2012, and I just want to mention some of our past winners because our awardees who are joining us today virtually. Last year, Cheryl Miles. In 2018, Susan Elko. 2017, Carol Hart-Metzger. 16, Moya Mumma. 15, Phyllis Copeland. In 2014, Alice Hausman and Bonnie Van Allen. In 2013, we honored Betty Moran. Sadly, Betty passed away this year, and we miss her dearly. And our first Kitchen Table Award was Barbara Jordan, founder and a major sponsor of the Chester County Women and Girls. And really, you know, this year's honoree, Pat Yoder, could not be more fitting. As a public health nurse, Pat has been helping Chester County women and their families for generations. Though the tender care of an amazing nurse has become her hallmark, She's also demonstrated amazing leadership by establishing and leading programs for families, such as the Nurse Family Partnership, as well as the Bridge of Hope. With Pat's vision, these initiatives have made women and their families healthier, as well as self-sufficient. I now invite you to learn more about our Kitchen Table Award honoree, Pat Yoder, from a few of her many fans in life.
It only seemed fitting, since I would be connecting with you from home this year, to be sitting around my kitchen table. The Kitchen Table Award was established in 2011 to honor a woman from Chester County who has made significant contributions to the lives of women and girls. And the origin of the name of the award comes from the origin of our organization. There's women sitting around the kitchen table talking about the struggles and the needs they saw in their families, their neighborhoods, their communities. And these women are foremothers committed to turning that dialogue into action in many ways, including the formation of the Chester County Fund for Women and Girls. Back in January, when we selected this year's honoree, we never could have imagined how fitting or relevant she or her work would be. Right now, healthcare heroes are in the spotlight, but Pat Yoder has actually been a steady force for good for many years. One of the first words that pops into my mind when I think of Pat is steady. She steadily delivers with equal parts competency and depth of knowledge and depth of commitment and passion to the families that she serves.
That's a very special person. She's quiet and unassuming, but she always gets the job done. She's very passionate about public health and about maternal child health issues.
From the moment I met Pat, I knew that she would be a huge influence in my nursing career. She has become the most important mentor in my entire 30-year nursing career.
Pat is so deserving of this award. She has done outstanding work with women and children in Chester County and beyond. She really exemplifies the heart of this award.
She cares a lot about people in general. She, of course, cares a lot about pregnant women and the families. And she takes excellent care and mentoring with her staff. She's an excellent partner and collaborator with a number of agencies across the county. We're now recognizing that one agency can't do it all. There's never enough resources. But she's such a caring and kind person. I think kindness, we could all learn a lot from Pat.
The thing that I've learned from Pat over the years is that relationships are super, super important. Pat has developed relationships at the community level, the state level, the federal level. And these relationships have helped to build very strong programs at the Chester County Health Department.
I remember a lot of kitchen table conversations around Pat's kitchen table. So her passion for moms and children really combined with her deep expertise of organizations and systems are just a few of the reasons she really is deserving of this award.
Congratulations, Pat. I'm so excited for you. I'm a little disappointed we're not having the luncheon in person. This is the next best thing. So I wish you well, and your family and your grandchildren are all healthy and safe. And go Phillies!
She truly exemplifies how and why women are stepping up as healthcare heroes and guiding us through such a challenging time. So thank you, Pat, and congratulations to you. We are truly proud to be honoring you with the Kitchen Table Award.
Pat, congratulations on this Kitchen Table Award. Well done. And thank you for your care and advocacy for women and girls in Chester County and beyond.
Hi, Mom. Congratulations on receiving the Kitchen Table Award. In learning more about what this award represents, I can't think of anyone more deserving than you. Our own kitchen table growing up was a place of celebrating family and learning how important it is in life to make a difference. Your passion for both family and making a difference was a theme for me from the beginning. I even remember stories about how you went to grad school with me strapped on your back. an example of how you prioritized both your family and work. Through our own kitchen table conversations and observing your work, each of your children learned the importance of finding work that makes a difference and also doing what you love. This is a legacy that you've passed on to us and continue to live out in your own life. And we're so fortunate to have a mother so committed to making a lasting impact. Someone who wants not only her own family to experience healthy relationships and positivity, but all families. So congratulations again, well deserved, love you.
Thank you, Pat, on behalf of the Board of Directors and the Chester County Fund for Women and Girls, congratulations. So we're going to present you with this pottery. This is a local artist. I can kind of hold it up here. I'll go ahead and I'll present that to you.
Thank you.
This is a local artist, Suzanne Kent. So each year we have a piece made so that you can place this on your kitchen table and be reminded of this special day, even though we're not having chicken at the Desmond. So congratulations.
Thank you so much for this award. It's beautiful. I love the symbolism. And thank you for those of you who participated in the video. What a gift. I actually got to see the video earlier this week when we did a rehearsal, which was a good thing because as many of you who know me, I am an easy, I get misty eyes pretty easily. So I'm glad I got to see that earlier this week. But it's truly a gift. So thank you. And Dr. Bell, thank you for your very poignant and relevant comments. Appreciate it. So I've been asked to share some reflections with you all about what led to me going into public health as a career. I have been fortunate to work at the Chester County Health Department for most of my career, actually 30 plus years now. And most recently, I've been serving in the role as maternal child health supervisor. That role is primarily managing our nurse family partnership and Title V nurse home visiting programs to pregnant moms and families with infants and toddlers. So it's a fun job. I really do enjoy it. First and foremost, seeds of inspiration started early in my life. I was fortunate to grow up in a strong circle of family security and love and family fun, which included many good meals around our own kitchen table in my home where I was brought up. And my early life experiences instilled in me this deep desire, both professionally and personally, to do what I could to nurture a positive family life, whatever that family constellation may look like. Secondly, as I came to the health department, I quickly discovered this shared inspiration from management level to staff level to nurture healthy women, healthy families, healthy communities. And I especially value the heartfelt connection that the nurse home visitors offer to the families they serve, working together with parents to answer the many questions and address the many challenges that we all know come with raising young children. And now, I have to say, I really admire and am impressed with the extra virtual miles the staff are going to continue to offer care and connection to the families they serve with an extra dose of creativity during these days of COVID and telehealth. Secondly, I also wanted to mention that beyond the health department, I have also discovered over the years this wonderful network of community partners who share this collective commitment to nurturing healthy families and healthy communities. And I have learned about myself that it's these partnerships that give me life, again, both personally and professionally. Most importantly, I have found inspiration from women and families throughout Chester County. As a public health nurse in my early career, I offered nurse home visiting services myself to families, and I was so impressed with the families I came to know. I learned to know many strong women, many nurturing families, and many wonderful multi-generational families. It was a true privilege to be welcomed into their homes and to learn from them about strength and about resiliency. And now I thrive on the stories I hear from our staff. Stories about how moms are engaging with their children in ways that bring joy and connection. And now, again, in these days of COVID, stories of strong families rising up to the many challenges of COVID and not only meeting basic needs for their families like healthy meals and safety, but also doing whatever they can to meet their children's needs for love and security. Thank you so much to the Chester County Fund for Women and Girls for this true honor and this kitchen table award. My hope is that we can all continue to offer care and connection in our own ways to the people around us as we walk together during these really challenging times. Thank you so much. I am so very, very touched.
Thank you, Pat. Really an honor that's well deserved. And I'm very glad to have gotten to know you during all of our rehearsal sessions and getting ready for luncheon. So thank you so very much. At this time, I'd like to bring up our word cloud so you can see where we all kind of landed with that little exercise. There it is. Thank you, Brandon. So right there in the middle, we have empowerment. What a strong and awesome word. Something that I think we all feel when we think about the Chester County Fund for Women and Girls: generosity, opportunity, inspiration, hope, courageousness, equity, and so forth. We'll be sure to share this word cloud with all of you. And thanks to all of those who did participate in putting this together and putting some words on what the CCFWG means to each and every one of us. So thank you.
I want to thank our sponsors. We do have a few more things to go through, but certainly thanking our sponsors, our board and staff, especially the Volunteer Luncheon Committee led by our chair, Rosa Moore, and co-chair, Ali Kaczynski. Our elected officials, who many of them joined us to tune in, and as always, our frontline workers. You know, we talk about normal times. In normal times, our grants allocation, our requests for funds are about $350,000 a year, and we are able to give out or grant about $200,000 on average. But what is going to be the normal in new requests? Think about new grantees that we don't even know about today for our community. As Dr. Bell spoke about building on our history, equality for all, and democracy is not a spectator sport. The role that this fund brings to the forefront to amplify those voices and our funds to support the core needs of our community is so critical. When I look at and read of our 2019 grantees, just a few: the Domestic Violence of Chester County, Legal Aid of Southeast Pennsylvania, the Women's Resource Center, Home of the Sparrow, Friends Association, Community Volunteers of Medicine, Young Moms, Wings for Success, La Comunidad Hispana, Black Women of Chester County, Unite for Her, Maternal and Child Health. Goodness, we need them all, and we need them more, and they need us. We thought that we had hard work to do before this pandemic. Everyone recognizes that the requests and the needs of our community are only going to grow. What is ahead is uncertain, but we know for sure that women and girls of this community need us more than ever, and supporting our grantee partners, developing young leaders to step up during crisis times like these, and to be a bold voice for the needs of women and girls. Convene our community together, take action. The good news, or for me, the great news, is I believe, and our board and our supporters believe, we are poised and ready, but we can't certainly do it without you. The fund can be a silver lining. We are the connector. We are the funder of the future. When you think about the suffragettes, in 1917, when the last pandemic, the Spanish flu, was going on, they persevered, they kept going. And they focused, they banded together, and they continued for our right to vote in 1919. We need you all at our virtual kitchen table. We need all of you connected and engaged with us. And frankly, we need whatever you can do to monetarily to support the fund so we can fund these organizations going forward. So please help us with our generous matching grant. And if possible, our own, we have a monthly contribution program. To follow Dr. Bell, bear with me here a second. One of my favorite t-shirts is from Susan B. Anthony, and it is failure is impossible. And here it is. Patty's going to close us shortly with the final drawings, and Mary Kate and Tara Morrissey are going to sing For Good from Wicked. And one of my favorite lines of this song, I have been changed for good. I have been changed for good. Susan B. Anthony changed me for good. And I hope that each and every one of you has been changed for good today and will be well and will support the fund. And now to Mary Kate and Tara.
I heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Now I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better, but because I knew you, I have been changed for good. It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea, like a seed dropped by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better, but because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good. And just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blame me for. Well then I guess you know there's blame to share, and none of it seems to matter anymore. Like a ship as it passes, like a wind off the sea, like a stream that meets a seed dropped by a bird in a wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better, because I knew you, because I knew you, because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
And now, final thanks once again to our sponsors, to donors like you, and to our community partners and grantees, because please know that we know without you, the work that we do on behalf of women and girls would not be real and would not be possible. I'm Patty Diggin, board member at the Chester County Fund for Women and Girls, igniting change in Chester County. So let's light this candle. Good afternoon and goodbye, everyone.